Welcome to MacT's How I Do Things, and today we're going to be talking about the front suspension on the 2007 through I believe the 2011 Ford and Edge and MKX. Now the lower control arm is what we're going to be talking about and presenting in this video today, and as you can see we're going to go over the actual foot-pounds of torque that you need to place on the rear portion of the two vertical bolts that are in the lower control arm, and that is 59 foot-pounds. And then of course going down further we're going to see the front control arm bolt that is vertically mounted. It is going to be 111 foot-pounds of torque. And then of course the other bolts, as far as their torque specs are, of course relative to the ball joint and everything, will be your 41 foot-pounds of torque, and then of course the sway arm links will be 66 foot-pounds. Now I do recommend going to Ford, as they probably have the bolts that you need, but I did experience these bolts being rusted, worn out to the point where I had to replace them. So you will want to get the lower ball joint bolt, which is part number W712481, and then the stabilizer link nuts. You're going to need the stabilizer links, so get those, and those are two separate parts. But the lower arm to frame forward bolt, the one that I said that is horizontally mounted, you want to get that one for sure, and that is a part W712734. And then I cannot stress enough to get these two bolts in this graphic on number 7, and that is the lower arm to frame rearward bolts, and they are the ones that are vertically mounted, and you need 2 of those. Those are definitely going to be rusty on you. Do not waste time trying to reuse them, but get that, and that is part number W712850. Now keep in mind that all the parts are part of your suspension, so you want to make sure that, since they are critical parts, that you do of course take and torque them down appropriately. But remember, you want to do is tighten them up. Since they are bushings and fasteners, you must do it while there is a load on the vehicles. In other words, you must take and drop the vehicle and place a load on it and then tighten them up. Now you can do this one of 2 ways: dropping it to the ground if you have a lift, and then crawling under and torquing them down. Or if you have the type of drive-on lift you can have, that makes things a lot easier, which is what I ended up doing. But you want to make sure you do torque them down under load. So that being said, we're going to move on to the video in how to replace your lower control arm, and what surprises you may find. As I did, I ended up having all sorts of difficulties, so we want to make sure we cover all of that. Okay, we're going to replace the lower control arm on this 2008 Ford Edge. First thing you have to do is, of course, remove the wheel. So we're going to go ahead and remove the lug nuts and wheel, and then we're going to take it and start working on it. Okay, remove the wheel and set the wheel down off to the side. Okay, we have to remove this sway bar link. This nut requires an Allen wrench on the end, and then of course outer. To remove the sway bar link, and then we got to go down and maybe remove this one. What I'm going to try to do is just remove this lower part so I can disconnect this lower control arm. Now on the lower control arm, if you look back up in here, get a better view back in here. You see that back there? There's 2 bolts that we have to undo, and up underneath, if you get down underneath here and look, right here we undo these 2 to release this. Then coming up, get down over here. Coming up over here, we have to get in here. So in order to get under here, what we have to do is come to the front of the car, moving over, and then all the way down over here, this way. See that bolt right there? That bolt right there, we have to take and also remove. If we move this and these other two up front, the sway bar link, and then we have to release this bolt here to hold the ball joint. Once we release these items and these fasteners, this should fall away and we can remove it and then just simply insert it and reinstall it. So that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be showing you step by step on how to do this. Okay, we're going to take and of course hit them up with a little bit of the PB blaster up here, and then of course over here on this one we're going to soak her up there a little bit with that just to make things move a little easier. And just to get things going, we're going to hit up all the different connection points and bolts to try to get things loosened up. Right down in through all the different areas. So we get that. Now I'm going to have to take a wrench, an air impact, onto this part here. If you look over here, I'm going to take an air impact because right now it's too tight for me to remove with the actual Allen wrench. So I'm going to try to loosen it up with air impact as much as possible. Then hopefully I can apply the Allen to it and then of course remove it. If I cannot remove it, I have a Sawzall and I will cut this off because I do have a new one to replace it. That is generally what you end up doing a lot of the time. So we're going to go ahead and try to loosen this up with the air impact first and see where we go with it. As you can see, it's not going to cooperate and it's spun off inside, so I'm just going to have to end up cutting this off. As I assumed, it's just not going to cooperate. These are generally a one-time use item, so we'll just go ahead and cut them off with the Sawzall and just make the job easier on that aspect. So we'll just go ahead and cut it off and get rid of it that way. Okay, we're going to have to cut this sway bar link off, so we just take the Sawzall and we go ahead and cut it off. We'll go ahead and cut it right here. Be very careful, of course, of your sensor line and everything else that's right here. But so we're going to remove these. This is a 15mm socket, and we just go ahead and hit these up. And they're on there pretty good. At least that one is. We're got a little bit of rust, as you can see. Look at this bolt here.
It's again hard to see.
That one's pretty rusty. That bolt got pretty rusty up in there, so we're gonna have to take and get this one a little cleaned up. We go ahead and clean these threads up a little bit. Shit.
You broke it.
So this bolt here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean up on the dressing also.
Which one's break? You got the other end out?
No.
That's the hard part.
Well, I can cut it. Just a horseshoe shape.
I mean, the part that curves in, you're okay?
Yeah, it's welded onto the...
And the thread that's
The nut is welded, yeah, if you look. Let me bring it down, you can see. And that's how you remove the front bolt on the lower control arm.
Slip through because all they have is 50 millimeters. See that? That's probably not. No.
Am I going to have to go through Ford on this? I'll have to.
That's as long as you got it.
Got to take and make sure you convince it to come out. And again, this is your bolt here. Very long, big bolt. And as you can see, this one's a lot cleaner. Now, as far as the bolts that I'm working on the lower control arm, on the two vertical bolts, one I was able to get off, very worn out. The other one was locked in there, and I ended up using a breaker bar and breaking the actual bolt head off. Now what I'm going to have to do, if you look up underneath here, and coming under here, is I have to now take the Sawzall, and I'm going to have to cut this off, and then remove this, and get all this off of here. And then I'm probably going to have to come up at the top side and cut that off in order to replace this. Now that's because the bolt broke. The only other way for me to do that and make it easier on myself is I'm going to have to start releasing these main bolts on the frame and then have something support the frame so it don't drop down too far, and then jack it back up in order to remove this. So this has become instead of a project that would be easy, it has now become a royal pain in the rear side, and we are going to have to work harder. We're going to get it done, but it's definitely going to take some time. So this is not your normal change out, but then again it may be, depending on the miles and the rust you got on the bolts. I do recommend buying new bolts when you do this. I did not do it last time, and I think I'm paying the price this time. So let me go ahead and get started working on some more of this, and we're going to carry on.
This length, that would probably work.
That would work.
Yeah.
Just need one. Stick it up. I need two.
Two of them. Okay. Yeah, I'm certain I'm going to be here probably take 45 minutes. It's going to be a while, but they're gone.
Okay, I got to have them.
Okay, that'd be fine. Then you did it before. Yeah. Now we got a camera.
Camera on it while I push on it.
Put that out.
Yeah, look at that ball joint. Show the light up here.
I mean, then you can put it all in, just start the new one.
Hold that.
With the one bolt, and then go ahead and put it
Yeah,
all.
look at this ball joint though.
Oh, that's normal when they wore out, yeah.
So that's what was causing my tire play. So this is the ball joint. And as you can see, it actually moves up and down and everything else. So this ball joint is completely bad. Now, I could actually pop this out, but in order to do that, I'm going to have to take and get the press in here, and you can see this is going to be very difficult to do to get this out of here. So I'll probably just replace the entire lower control on the other side, just because of the way this is all positioned, and this would probably work out easier this way, just to pop everything back in. This ball joint's worn out. I'm getting the other bolts on order so that I can replace the front up here. Now I got to cut this off, so I'll keep working on her.
I think the is nearly loose. No. Whoa, finally did it.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
There it is. This is Supreme Chassis Parts. They use generic pictures on their boxes just so you know how cheap they are, but it was $19.50 for this. It's MevTech. Basically it's nothing more than, of course, unboxing it and finding my new sway bar link.
Yeah.
Of course comes with the nuts that I need, and then I can install it. So I do have it. It has not got any grease fittings on it. It's $19.95, but it will do the job. I bought this part, go back a bit, I bought this part to actually take it, have it ready in case I had to cut the sway bar links off. I had to cut the links off, so therefore I have it ready. I highly recommend that. Other thing, as you just witnessed and everything, the bolts that were holding the two vertical supports in on the back part of the sway bar or the control arm were very rusty, so I would recommend buying the bolts also, front, back. Why not be sure? And even your new bolt for your ball joint connection, I would also go as far as doing that. I haven't done it this time, but I am getting two new bolts for the vertical mount in the rear part of the sway, the lower control arm. So I'm giving those on order. They're coming in about an hour. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and unbox my new lower control arm. And I bought this through Amazon. I am not advertising for them. It just so happens to be the company in which I bought this part from. So that being said, of course, I can open this box somehow, get the part out here, of course. As you can tell, it is a MOOG box, so they have it flipped inside out. But as you can see, I'm unboxing it. It all comes, everything ready to go. The part is, of course, and as you can see, this is where I had the problem. The nut broke off down here on the lower part, on the back part of this section. These nuts are actually welded on. So when I pulled the bolt, it broke off about here. So the bolt was sticking up in the nut. And what I did is I cut these cross members off to get this off of here so I could pull this top part off. Now, since I already had a whole new unit, okay, and the bushings and everything are good, same manufacturer part, and then of course my ball joint is right here, good shape, good working order. There's also greaseless fittings, which I don't like, but you can press them out. So you want to make sure that whatever you do, you have the parts on hand when you go to work on these. And I have the whole part, so I can just wait for the bolts to come in. I'll remount this, reinsert this in there, and we'll be on our way, because this was definitely worn out. Okay, now I had to order some bolts. These are not exactly the bolts, but I'm in a pinch because can't get any from Ford. So these are just a tiny bit shy of what the length I need, but they are going to work. But you need a 10-9 bolt, okay, number 5 I believe it is. I didn't quite get that length. These are just, like I said, maybe a 1/4 inch or not even a little more shorter than what I need, but they will of course bolt up what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and use these because, like I said, I don't have any choice. So I'm going to take and replace them with these standard bolts here and go ahead and get them going. So I'm going to go ahead and start reinstalling the lower control arm and getting this car back on the road again. Now I put a little bit of the anti-seize on this bolt here, just so that we can maybe get it off later on, should we have to do that. So we're going to put a little bit of that on there.
It's recording.
Okay, we got her started. Took a little bit of wrangling, but we got the bolt going in for the front. And again, this is a 18mm for the front horizontal bolt. I'm just gonna put her in there, not gonna tighten her all the way up, just got her snug. And that way it gives me a little more wiggle room in the back here to try to get these up and in place. And I'm gonna use the little lift thing to straighten that out so I can get those bolts aligned.
It's not working.
It's not grabbing yet. Come on.
Oh, snap. Oh, are you okay?
That looked like it hurt.
I didn't see. Sorry, I was looking down and then I heard you say ouch and I looked up, but I didn't see how hard you hit. Don't want to stay. enough.
Put the bolt back on here. We're going to put some anti-seize on it. A little bit of anti-seize on that. We're going to toss that boy on here. And we'll get this all cinched back up. Tighten this up. We'll put a torque wrench on it, torque it to spec, and then we'll be done. And all we got left to do, of course, is this sway bar link right here. And get that installed, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, we put the sway bar link in, and then, of course, get it seated in there. Get those on. And then, of course, we take and get up over here. And we'll start this nut right here. Get this going. Tighten this up. And then, of course, over here, on this side, we'll take and we'll get this nut started. And then we'll, of course, use the Allen wrench to get this tightened up and get everything situated. And then we just tighten it up. And we get her going. And we get that sway bar link nice and tight in there. Cinched up. And nice and snug. And wiggle her out and you're all done with that one. Okay. You got almost got her in. Show the light up there, sweetheart. There we go.
Getting too heavy.
There we go. Sway bar link is installed. Now we got to take and lower the car down because you do have to torque the front part of the LCA and the rear part, and you got to do that under load. So we have to actually put the car down all the way to the ground, and then I got to crawl under it, and I got to torque the front bolt and then the two back bolts to their torque specs. Now, the torque specs for the front bolt are 111 foot-pounds of torque for that front bolt. That front bolt is 111 foot-pounds, and the back two bolts have to be torqued at 59 foot-pounds. So you got to do that under load. So I'm going to crawl under the car and, of course, torque them down. There's not much camera room or anything like that, so I don't know if we're going to be able to get a good angle on it, but we'll try to get something on that as far as a video of it. But a little bit cramped because you do have to crawl underneath the car. Okay, recapping, we got the front LCA bolt torqued, okay, and then we got the back two bolts also torqued to spec. We have torqued the ball joint bolt to the specs that we had name mentioned, and our sway bar links are now all set up and of course fastened. The tire has been reinstalled. And of course we're going to drop it down off the lift and then give it a road test. But that is what you do to change out a very stubborn lower control arm on a 2008 Ford Edge. And keep in mind the rust was remarkable on the bolts. And just to give you an idea of what kind of rust we're looking at, look at this bolt here as far as what type of rust and everything else that we're looking at. This thing was pitted. It's actually notched from all the rust that was on it. And then, as you can see, this is the part that I actually cut off of the rear part of the LCA. And if you look at that bolt, how rusty it is, you can understand why it broke off, and of course why you need to plan ahead and have the new bolts handy when you replace it. I had to literally use a Sawzall and cut this thing off in order to actually remove it. So the only other choice you would have is to remove the frame supports to drop it out, but you'd still have to cut this off in order to remove this bolt. So just be planning ahead and just be aware that these bolts are very rusted, and this thing is almost rusted through.